are my linen garment I put on. Lord, you are my linen garment I put on, while I minister to in the inner courts. They shall not gird themselves with anything that causes sweat. They shall not gird themselves with anything that causes sweat. Lord, you are my linen garment I put on. Lord, you are my linen garment I put on, while I minister to you in the inner courts. Oh, your garments smell of earth and aloe, garment of acacia. Oh, your garments smell of myrrh and aloe, of acacia, as I minister to you in the end.
To introduce a special guest speaker tonight. I could give you his resume, but instead I prefer just to be a witness to this man's character of who he is. I first met him 3 years ago at the FE 2019 conference. That's right, Flat Earth Conference. I went there. Met a lot of interesting people there, but there was two individuals that really stood out. Rob Skiba, praise be to Yah for sending Rob to wake a lot of us up. Amen? There was another extraordinarily peculiar person. We're all very peculiar, but there was one extraordinarily peculiar individual there. His name was Nathan Reynolds. It is Nathan Reynolds. We now call him Shimon, but he has the tribe of Shimon here. And I was extremely impressed with his character. Just the light in his eyes, I could just see it. And I just knew there was something a little extra different about this man. And for whatever reason, just, time went by. We didn't really connect for whatever reason. But over the last few months, it's been very enjoyable to have a relationship, a friendship with Brother Nathan. He and his wife have a pretty interesting YouTube channel. Through that, I actually have learned about living bread through that Sue Becker thing you guys put up there. That was amazing. And full linen regalia and many other interesting topics. Treasure, which I'm sure he's going to talk about tonight. I also have a fond love for Yah's true treasure in this earth. But I won't spoil any of that. But I just want to be a character witness to Nathan and his family that they are true warriors for Yahweh. And I'm really pleased to have him speak tonight on the things that Yah has laid on his heart. So, Brother Nathan Reynolds, Shimon, would you please come up here, sir?
Well, hello. My name is Nathan Reynolds, and it is an absolute delight to get to be here and under a tabernacle in the wilderness. How unique and peculiar and funky is all of this, right? I had no idea this kind of stuff was ever even kind of a part of the kingdom of Yahweh. I was raised in a totally different kingdom. Anybody familiar with the other side? Like the kingdom of darkness side, like the kingdom of cowardice side, the kingdom of compromise. I was raised inside that den. And I think many of you likewise were raised in these traditions and these falsehoods and these lies. I was one of those people who woke up one day and said, surely I have inherited lies, vanity, worthless things. And I was like shockingly upset about it. Like legitimately ticked off. Not even a little bit. You know, I know every single person that has come to this place and is willing to go through the scourge of public mockings and persecutions in order to become a funky, peculiar person. I would have never thought I'd be standing on the stage wearing linen regalia, as you so kind yourself to say, nor carrying a staff, nor being a barefooted butcher. But I assure you of this, Yah has a purpose and a calling for each and every one of us that is nothing like what the world says you were made to be. And you know what you were made to be? A living stone. One of one. Totally unique. In all of creation, there is no one ever has been nor will ever be that is just like you. Because you were made to fit into this peculiar tabernacle that he is building up. This new, wonderful, perfect, sinless, perfect, right ruling, never dark kingdom and city of righteousness. This is our destiny as these people. And you know what? With these verses that started shaking me out of my slumber, like somebody coming along and screaming, "Wake up! Wake up!" And you're like, I'm totally awake right now. You know, I was in the United States military. Any other veterans in the room? Yes. Every man, woman who may have raised their hand is a trained murderer. Just in case you need one, take that away. Just in case you need it. Now, there is these things that they drill into your head with relentless, incessant, non-stop frenzy. And one of them is to get up, get going, move, 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 move. Like all the time. Insanely constant pressure. And it's kind of difficult because I have like young children now. And it's totally drill sergeant down at some points. How many people were at the butchering slaughter yesterday? Yes. Put them up. Yeah, I was kind of in that mode yesterday, right? Full disclosure. I tried to warn you all that I was going to be swinging knives and super deadly, right? It was definitely deadly for 17 things that showed up yesterday, right? Now, there was this verse that shook me out of my slumber, and I could not ever get it out of my head. Because I kept reading the book of Jeremiah, as I inherited, right? I kept reading this book over and over and over and over again. And I didn't know why. Because to me, it just seemed like the God of the Old Testament was pissed. Really mad. Like all the time. Like not even just a little bit. Like enough to be like, I'm gonna vomit you out. I'm gonna spit you out of my mouth. And I didn't have context for the why. I was never given this why. And I'm like an insatiably curious human. If you do not give me an actual, valid, good answer, I'm gonna pick it to pieces until there's nothing left. I'm gonna throw it on the ground, I'm gonna trample it, I'm gonna make it my enemy, and I'm gonna destroy it with everything in me. I'm just like that. I was a terrifying student to have in the classroom. Any of you educators used to tremble when I would be in the room. Because if you couldn't keep me occupied, I would occupy everything else that existed, right? I was like, I need to know. And yet I was put into a system of compulsory education, this public and private schooling sector and homeschooling version, where we have all these regimented learning versions. And we had to go through classes. And this class warfare that was waged and impregnated into my mind, where I wasn't allowed to leave my class. Every day, you stay in your class, you stay in your class, go back to your class. If you want out, you gotta ask the expert, you gotta ask the professional, you gotta ask the white robe priests that are the medical experts what you need to do in order to be anything. And I was really not happy with that because it grated against my character. I was insanely energized. I needed to move. I needed to find something. And after I figured it out really thoroughly and intensely, I was off to the next thing. Like, I gotta find some other new mystery and interesting thing to satisfy this craving in my soul to marvel and wonder, to be amazed. Like the first time, any of you, how many of you planted a seed in a Ziploc bag and watched it sprout? Anybody do that one? You're young, I'm talking about. This is like all the farming experience you get in school most of the time. They're like, there you go! That's where plants come from. Beans. And you're like, I guess the mystery's solved then. I'll go back to the misery. See, but I was this young child who, even amidst what I was raised in, I was around enough people that taught that this book, this scripture, this sword was real and could be trusted. And I was like, okay, then let me read these stories. And I got hooked so hard on the stories of the mighty men in the scriptures. Anybody ever hear about these Gibberim, the mighty men of valor, these courageous warriors like David's soldiers? He's got these elite special forces that kill hundreds of human beings in lentil fields. They're like, I'm gonna die here in this lentil field. They're like, no, all of you are gonna die. 2 dudes slaughtering all the Philistine homies in a moment. Everyone's like, those guys should be up on David's like top VIP list. Definitely. They killed people over lentils. Anybody ever hear about lentils in the scripture? Super important. There's some people that may have taken a birthright over lentils. Biblical foods, we're gonna get there. Adam talked all about it a little bit ago, but lentils are way up there. If any of you are thinking about lentil stew, do it. It could save your life. I'm not even joking. Some people here know what's up. They're like, yeah, it's not a joke. Lentils will save your life. Anyways, Jeremiah 16:16 was this verse that I kept running into, and I thought it was the most intense and glorifying verse of all my life, and I simply needed to understand it. Any of you who have a sword, who's got a sword present in their hands? Go, raise it up. Don't show me your phone. I want to see a black man. I want to see a sword. I want to see a sword. Yes, you came ready for warfare. Let's dance. Jeremiah 16, go, go. Let's call the sword drill. Go, 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 go. Yeah, exactly. Tell me about it. All right. Jeremiah 16:16. He says, see, I am sending for many fishermen, declares Yahuwah, and they shall fish them. Who's that? Who are these fishermen? Anybody hear about these fishers of men? You ever heard that before? He's like, hey, Peter! Shimon. Oh, yes, the Shimonites are totally in the New Testament too. He's like, y'all be fishing for fish. Come fish for men. And they're like, you betcha! You got it! Sounds way better than stinking fish! I stink all the time. Think about how stinky Peter was. If you were his wife, you had to do his laundry. Yeah, all the women in here are like, dadgummit, my husband stinks. Stinky jobs. It's real. The struggle is real, y'all. If only he was a Millenite. I bet you anything I mean less. We're gonna get there. Okay, Jeremiah 16:16 talks about these fishermen that were gonna go out and fish for men all over the nations, right? Well then check this out. And after that. And after what? The fishermen. I shall send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them. Who are these hunters? That are gonna go hunt them. Who's the them? The men. They are gonna go hunt men down. They are going to hunt them from every mountain and every hill and out of the holes of the rocks. I was like, I want to be in the Hunters Club. Totally want to be in the Hunters Club. Because behind the scenes, my family was also involved in a whole lot of radical intelligent evil. And I was going through these cauldrons of fire and nightmares, and I saw that the kingdom of darkness indeed had power. And not just a little bit. Enough to demolish and annihilate churches like that. And when I saw that, I wanted some kind of power. Because I was in a situation where I was being perpetually used and exploited and trafficked. And I wanted a way out. And someone showed me that there was a way out. And if all I did for them is go after and hunt men, I could have power. So that is what I did. I became a hunter of men. And I used these carnal weapons with absolute excruciating brutality and mercilessness. Because I believe this was how you fight. This is how to wage your war. And I went on a rampage when I was young with tools like these. And you know what? There's an entire kingdom, the ways of Cain, the arts of death, that is there to embrace every man, every woman that would so be willing to go and fight in that kingdom. But I assure you of this, Yahuwah loves the fighters. And he has a purpose for each and every one of them. And every one of you who ever had that desire in your heart to go and bring mishpat, justice. We read the entire book of Exodus today. How many of you stayed through the entire thing? Amazing. How many of you have ever in your life sat and heard an entire book of scripture read in front of your person that was not a little letter? That's incredible. That's the most hands I've ever seen in a room when I've asked that question. I traveled all over the country, and even in and out of this country, and I have never seen anybody give up 4 hours to sit and read the Word. And for you all to be willing to give up your time and your comfort in this cold and in this wet to hear the words of these instructions like they were precious shows me about your character. Because you know what? You all have become these set-apart and kadosh people, these funky people, that are willing to not just come to be entertained, to not just be here for the experience, but because you sincerely want to become no longer the man and the woman you were before you came here, but you want to be transformed into who he is. You want to be a different kind of people. And I assure you of this. This is what makes you the hunters. Because in the Hunters Club of Jeremiah 16, it defines who these hunters are. And it says, verse 19, O Yahweh, my strength and my stronghold, my refuge. In the day of distress, the Gentiles shall come to you from the ends of the earth and say, our fathers have inherited only falsehood, futility, and there is no value in them. If you are one of those people who realize you've inherited falsehood and vanity, you are in the Hunters Club, and you have an opportunity to take violence to the vanity and to the cruel deceptions that have reigned over you from your youth. Those of you little children that are in this room, and young men and young women, and old men and old women, you now have an opportunity to change the trajectory, not just your life, but of the lives of those that are around you. Do you know what our children, the children that are in this room, are witnessing right now? Authentic human experiences. They're experiencing what it is to be cold and wet. You parents are getting to experience what it's like to have cold, wet, miserable children. Pray for us, y'all. It's exhausting. They're so whiny. So whiny. They're stinky. All kinds of stinky. There's wet clothes and soggy humans all up in this room. And many of you need to go in that river and bathe. I'm super serious. We're gonna get there. Now, I have a deep desire for each and every one of you to understand this is what makes us stronger. This is what gives us courage. This is what deepens our roots, is resistance training. When you go into the military, the reason they're always giving you to be in this constant state of stress and in a hurry is because it's giving you resistance. It's called stress inoculation, all right? They are preparing you for an inevitability that maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not in the next year or 5 years or 10 years from today, but at some point what is going to happen is you're going to be put into a situation or a series of situations that tests you and breaks you and crushes you and destroys you and tramples you into the earth and ruins everything you ever knew about normalcy and leaves you ruined. Unless that strength, that deepness of roots, unless that inoculation, that cure is coursing through you and giving you new life. And it allows you to make critical thinking, logical decisions, accurate choices amidst the onslaught. And this is how you see people who are trained perform with excellence, precision, decisiveness. This is what made those two men stand in a field full of lentils when everybody else ran. They had been preparing. Because you are sitting in this room, because you are studying those scriptures, because you are diligently seeking it out, you're deepening those roots. And I assure you of this, over these years, the last few years, my wife and I left everything we ever knew. We moved into an RV and we hit the road to giant question mark pit.
Well, I can honestly say for the first time in my life, I am in a recliner while I'm driving down the road. This is pretty spectacular, if I do say so myself. I don't know that it gets much more comfortable than this. How are you doing, Miss Goose?
Good.
Do you love the RV?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a beautiful home. Look at Noodle, she's just passed out in the sunshine as all can be. She's so happy. Dad, what does this feel like driving down the road?
Feels like you're driving a gigantic, awesome bus that is so powerful on airbags. You're driving on pillows, let's be real. And I can see all the way around me. Right now the view is definitely about Denver's worst.
Yeah,
but,
this is about Denver's worst view, but
I used to take this drive every day to work, and I'm so glad to pass Vasquez.
There's Denver.
And we'll see it later.
You can imagine though that when you do have something nice to look at, there is a beautiful
Adios,
panorama.
muchachos.
Bye-bye.
We had no idea what we were doing. We just lived in Walmarts at first because it's definitely what we knew. I totally have to admit it. We frequented a lot of Walmarts. So, we went right back to it. and we just lived in their parking lots. We're like, great. We're not exactly homeless, but everybody thought we were. It's totally fine. We just said we were traveling all the time. They're like, where do you live? We're like, they're like, of what? I'm like, where you are. They're like, oh, okay. And you're like, but you post pictures from 3 months ago when we were at the beach. You're like, yeah, it was great then. Big walnut steak. That's all we knew. We were like, I don't know what to do. Because we'd been raised as civilized men and women. We literally had no idea about this thing like farming. We literally had no we wanted to do the whole Homestead YouTube version. Anybody seen the great YouTube Homestead version? You're like the highlight reels, endless awesomeness. You're like, I want to do that. Honey, we should totally do that. We can do it. And then you go out there and you're like, you lose all your money and everything dies and everything burns to the ground. You're like, let's get the heck out of here. This was terrible. We ruined everything. Plug back into Babylon, baby. We're out. Watch so many people do it. Y'all laughing. We're like, yeah. Some of you are like, we did that exactly. It's totally the reality. But there's a reason. It's because we have never been called to the wilderness in our society. We don't have people that are generally out there being like, come to the wilderness, it's amazing, it'll ruin you. No, it's a mixed message. You're like, you betcha, it's terrifying, it's wonderful. It's so good for you. I'm that dude now, totally comfortable with it. I've embraced it completely. I am murdering vanity every day because you know what I found in the wilderness? Authentic human experiences. I found the curious few. I found the wandering wanderers. And I was enthralled. I loved it. I met these funky little people that lived on farms in tiny little bamboo huts in Florida. You're like, what? People live in bamboo houses in America? This is crazy cool. I like it. I totally didn't know how to do it. And I did. And it was great. But you know what I had to do to get there? Sweat my face off like a slave. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Farmers like, hey, you want to live under the giant bamboo canopy of glory? I'm like, you bet I do. I want to go find seashells. And they're like, okay, head into the greenhouse. Sounds hot. They're like, you betcha. You see this entire greenhouse? Clean it. And I'm like, of what? And they're like, green stuff. All of it. I'm like, it's greenhouse. You know, it's greenhouse and it's Florida. And he's like, by the way, it's completely full of black widows. And fire ants. And it's 98 degrees outside. Mercy. Don't worry, I was wearing my nylon 511 tactical covert urban striker pants. I was ready to head out.
One day.
Day one.
Day one. This was my choice. Let's see in day 30 what I choose then.
But we
It's a good
live
day,
under
though.
bamboo.
Beautiful place.
Wonderful.
It's a solid 8-hour day, 9-hour day, and it was very warm. But good day.
At any time, I had 5 knives concealed on my person at that moment. I'm not even joking. I see some of you guys out here, you're totally in your striped pants. I know the brand. I totally recognize you. You can't be camouflaged around me. Bros, I've been in the game a long time. I've been hunting humans. I've seen your soft hands though, and I know you're vulnerable. You have a weakness. I can tell you don't shave with a straight razor. It makes a difference. Mitch, I love your straight razor. Please disregard everything I said about straight razors. He's got a tactical straight razor. It's insane. It's the sharpest one I've never held. It was scared me even to touch it. Anyways, I'm in this greenhouse and I am pulling out all the green stuff. Fire ants are insane. I've never even seen them. Not one time. Colorado's a desert of death. It's where dragons live. I don't recommend it even remotely. Lots of people in here are like, yeah, we got out of there. It's bad. No, it's real bad, y'all. Terrifying. It's nothing but nightmares almost always. And I didn't even know fire ants were a thing except for in South America and books I read in the encyclopedia.
This is mango.
Oh, ant hill. Poor choice. Oh. That was bad mistake.
bare feet in an anthill. Just look at him biting. And then I experienced their marvelous stings, relentless stinging. And I was on fire and doing the fire ant pants dance all over my tactical pants. They didn't even care that I had great nylon ripstop. They didn't even mind at all, man. They went right through it. I was on fire. And I was pouring sweat out of my face continually. And I was like, this is glorious. I love this. I did. I didn't even know I wanted to do that my entire life, but I was made for it. Because you know what happened? When I took a break and I walked outside into the beautiful 98-degree weather, I was pouring sweat out of every pore I didn't even know existed on my body. And I went inside my RV, and my wife had made food out of the land that I was farming on.
Today I've been working with tomatoes and fussy babies, but mostly tomatoes. That being said, I just want to point out, this is what your hands can look like after a good day's work. I used to think this was yucky, stinky, but you know what I've learned? I've learned that this is about the best feeling ever. I worked hard today, and because of that, we're gonna eat like kings. Like, literally gold fell out of the forest that we plowed, built tiny seedbeds for, planted seeds in, grew, raised, cultivated, then plucked when it was perfectly ripe. Yeah, but this is the goodness that can come from working hands, so you should get your hands dirty in the right kinds of things, like the saw.
That's all.
You'll never feel better than when you've worked hard in the saw.
I gotta eat by the sweat of my face. And I was like, why didn't anybody tell me about this? I feel amazing. I literally ate that meal and was like, yes! I got electricity in my bones! Seriously, when you eat fresh picked, fresh harvested, day of, dripping out of the tree, vegetables and produce, they are still alive. And when you eat it, baby, you're alive. And I was...
You eat it.
Oh. Oh. I've gone feral.
And you know what? My family was in a paradise behind a real Winn-Dixie. Was it a Winn-Dixie? Dadgum, creepy place. Super creepy. We were real scared when we made our way there. For real. Every turn we took got worse. And we were like, this is bad. And you know what? It was amazing. Because it was hiding in plain sight. Nobody even knew it was there. And you know what? That's exactly what each and every one of you are. You have endured the testing. You have endured the fire ants and the scourging heat. And you have stayed faithful. And you know what? If you're going to share eternity with a whole bunch of humans in community for a lot more than 8 days, you really want to choose them carefully. Some of you have been here for like 4, and you're like, I would evict my neighbor immediately. Right now. Maybe not. Some of you are super sweet. You're like, I love my neighbor. And then other people are like, looking to the ground. Straight down. And you know what? God is testing us to see what's in us, to see whether or not we want to keep His commandments. Whether or not we are willing to forsake vanity and the praise of men for a greater inheritance we have found. Who else has their scriptures ready to go? Yes, the book of Hosea. Go. Because there's one unifying thing that has brought us together tonight, and that is what I'm most excited to talk to you about. I'm live? Can you hear me now? Oh, it's not. I don't have a radio on. Sorry about that, folks. I don't have a radio. Anyways, the book of Hosea. The book of Hosea is written to the house of Israel. Anybody ever hear about Israel? Yes. Yes. Lots of hands. This should be like you guys should know that verse. Come on. Anyways, the book of Hosea, chapter 1. The word of Yahweh that came to Hosea, the son of Beri, in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, Hezekiah, sovereign of Yehudah. And in the days of Jeroboam, the son of Joash, the sovereign of Israel. The beginning of the word of Yahweh with Hosea. And Yahweh said to Hosea, go, take yourself a woman of whoring and children of whoring, for the land has utterly whored away from Yahweh. The whole land is whored away from Him. The land has been corrupted. The land has been defiled. The land is screaming out a testimony. Anybody ever hear about the blood of Abel that's screaming out and crying out day and night? Anybody hear about the blood of the innocents that cries out to him? We went out the other day. I gotta show you something. For those of you that did not come to the butchering class, who was here again? Raise your hand. It's amazing. You guys came and witnessed authentic human experience.
Working that.
Man, brother, what are you doing?
Those who delight in the law of the Lord, oh, the joy.
We just, I know she likes to work alone, but if she needs assistance,
I'll hang out.
brother.
I'll hang out.
Meditate day and night in the law of the Lord. Let Almighty light be.
We on schedule, boss?
We're on Yahoo's schedule for certain. Yeah, everyone's doing really well. We're doing really well. We can at least get a fire built up and then get them cooked up. Or we can wait till the lambs. We're going to end up burning it. However, it does say we're supposed to cook the entrails and not rather than just throwing them in and burning them all right now. There's still some important. I'm just in a dilemma here. Here's the issue. We want to be able to have the entrails cooked. You know, that's what we're supposed to do. But honestly, we would have to. This is where it's strange because we're done cooking of the entrails. I've always gutted them out, and I've taken some of the portions of them that I want to use out, and then I get rid of the rest. But the commandment is to cook it all with the entrails, and I imagine you would take the cooked entrail intact, right?
You got to hear the sounds of lambs crying out to each other. You got to know what it was like to hear, see, feel, smell, and then taste the costliness of life. And you know what? That is one of the most critically important things that we could ever experience in this life. And if ever you have an opportunity to do this again, it is your responsibility to get participant in it. This Pesach is an opportunity like no other Pesach I've ever been to, where you could come and learn to do this yourself. I have on this journey went from vegetable farmer to goat shepherd. And I'll tell you, at the end of goat shepherding, I wanted to kill goats. I just wanted to kill them. If you're gonna go homestead, kill your goats. Best advice I could ever give you. You're welcome. Get sheep. They're so much more biblical. And Yahuwah is totally gonna murder all the goats. All of them. Fire. Lots of it. All at once. Intense, consuming fire. And you know why? Because goats are miserable to be around. They pee on their faces. Not joking. And they always want out of the fence. And they're nothing but stiff-necked. I know. One of you is like, I love my goat. She's so sweet. I know. She's abnormal. She's peculiar. She's not like the others. Enjoy her. Now, during that butchering process, hold on. I gotta show you something. There's gonna be some outfit changes. It's gonna be intense. We're all gonna get through together. I may have to call for my armor bearer. Hold on. Stand fast. We made it. Thanks, man. We practiced that. More than once. There was times she was really needed because I got lost. Now, this is my life. Okay, the reason I do this is because this is actually how I live. I change clothes all day long, like 6-8 times a day. Because you know what? I live a whole very eclectic lifestyle. There's times where I wake up in the morning and I'm totally Butcher Bob, right? I'm like, you betcha, honey, I need my knives. I need my knives and I need my really, really fine white linen. And people are like, why do you wear white linen when you're butchering? I'm like, you ever read the scriptures? He's all about the linen! Now we're gonna find out why. The book of Hosea. Dive back in with me, go. Chapter 2. Say to your brothers, O my people, and to your sisters, O compassionate one, strive with your mother. Strive, for she is not my wife, nor am I her husband. Let her put away from her whorings from her face, and her adulteries from between her breasts, lest I strip her naked, and shall establish her as on the day she was born, and make her like a wilderness, and shall appoint her like a dry land, and shall put her to death with thirst. Anybody ever seen a dry land in Israel today? A land that's been murdered with thirst. These are words you can go and witness today because the scriptures is a reliable historical text. It's actual reality. The only reason they can get away with this con game where you tell you anything otherwise is because it's not in your backyard. When you are raised in the environment over there, it's not a guessing game. It's an absolute reality, and nobody tries to hoodwink you with that nonsense. This is a dry, desolate wasteland. Yes, some people are trying to bring it back, but I assure you of this. This is the consequences of compromise right here. And I shall not have compassion on her children, for they are the children of whorings. For their mother has whored. She who conceived them has acted shamelessly. For she said, I go after my lovers, who give me my bread and my water, my wool and my linen, my oil and my drink. Therefore, see, I am hedging up your way with thorns, and I shall wall her in so that she does not find her paths. And she shall pursue her lovers, but not overtake them. And she shall seek them, but not find them. Then she shall say, let me go and return to my first husband, for then it was better for me than now. And she did not acknowledge that I gave her grain, new wine, and oil, and increased her silver and gold, which they prepared for Baal. Therefore I shall turn back and take my grain in its time, and my new wine in its season, and shall take away my wool and my linen, covering her nakedness. And now I shall uncover her shame before the eyes of her lovers, and no one shall deliver her from my hand. And I shall cause all her rejoicing, her festivals, her new moons, and her Shabbats, even all her appointed times, to cease. And shall lay waste her vines and her fig trees of which she has said, these are my rewards, and my lover has given me. And I shall make them a forest, and the beasts of the field shall eat them. And I shall punish her for the days of the Baals, which she turned and burned incense, and adorned herself with rings and jewelries, and went after her lovers, and forgotten. Therefore, see, I am alluring her, and shall lead her into the wilderness, and shall speak to her heart. The reason we didn't inherit wool and linen, grain, water, oil, is because we were those people whose family members, ancestors, forefathers, patriarchs had thrown off, like the book of Nehemiah says, threw the Torah over their shoulders. What is this old book that we needed? Who is Yahweh that I should regard him? Pharaoh found out 10 plagues later just who Yahuwah was. And so have we, the house of Israel, come to find out just who Yahuwah is. He is one who is ferocious, your worst nightmare coming. Or the one who nourishes you and sustains you, provides for you, and protects you. He is El Shaddai. That is who he revealed himself to Abraham and Yitzhak and Yaakov. He is the one who sustains and satisfies, or he will crush you and turn you into the dust that you came from. These garments of praise, these garments of gladness were given to my wife and I because of the sweat of my face. Do you know what I was being paid there for the work of my labor and the sweat of my face? Groceries. That was it. For 6 months, nothing but food, which was great because it allowed me to go plunder Mitzrayim of all of its treasures, seashells. And it allowed me to discover goodwills. Boy, howdy, my wife over there is a goodwill champion. She is the Gibberim of all Gibberims in goodwills. We invade those places like a swarm, man. And if there is a piece of natural fiber clothing in there, oh my gosh, it's in our cart in less than 45 minutes.
All right. How much?
$30.47.
check this out.
For an entire...
Linen comforter.
Excuse me, Naomi.
Linen comforter, yep. Linen curtains,
It's okay,
yep.
Naomi.
Don't worry, we found linen tablecloths, the big kind, the heavyweight kind. Not to mention dresses, shirts,
All 100%.
pants. 100%, y'all. Everything you're looking at, except for the spatula. Shocker. Even hand-embroidered beautiful things. Look at this. Come on. It's a linen highway.
It is amazing. She is destined for this. This is where she thrives. Because we've discovered this fabric where I no longer feel like I need to be the tactical nightmare coming. I suddenly discovered that it was way better to wear linen because it breathed. And I basically have been suffocating my entire life. Y'all be suffocating in here, I'm telling you. The day you start to put on these fibers that he has given you, it will free you. But you can't have that unless you are willing to murder the vanity that's in you. Because if you don't embrace the billow, y'all, if you're not willing to embrace the billow and embrace those wrinkles that all of you earned, show off those wrinkles. You should hide them ever. Your wrinkles are beautiful and you earned every one of them. Same too with the linen, because it's made to be like your face and shed heat efficiently. This is the garment of gladness that I was given as an inheritance from my Father for my labors and my wages. And I assure you of this, if we return to him, he says, I'll get you in the wilderness. He's super sneaky like that. Sometimes you don't even know it, but he's totally got you. He's gunning for you. And you're like, this is a total worst case scenario. Behind the scenes, he's like, I'm leading you to your destiny. And you're like, this is miserable, I want out! Like all of you right now on a wet night that's coming in that rainy tents. I know, you got soggy sacks that you gotta crawl into, and it's not gonna be exciting. But you know what? He is alluring you. And that's so beautiful and so triumphant.
Look at that. There you go. Read Ezra 10. Great weeping, repentance, prayers, and confessions of sins. They gathered together in assembly. And they were trembling and shaking. And great waters fell upon them. Yet they gathered together still. Praise be to Yahuwah, giver of good days. Parted waters. Repentance.
Let's find out just who this Yisrael really is. And just what we are here to understand and identify. Keep going. You got it. And in that day, I shall make a covenant for them with the beasts of the field and with the birds of the Shemaim and with the creeping creatures of the grounds. That's fire ants and black widows, by the way. When bow and sword and battle break from the earth, and I shall make them lie down in safety. My wife would read this psalm, Psalm chapter 4, every night before my children would go to sleep. She would say, you, O Yahuwah, I'll just read it for you, because it's so salty. Hold on. And you need it. We're going to get to the salt of the earth. Oh, it's just fantastic. Psalm chapter 4. To the chief singer on string instruments, a psalm of David, dancing with all his might. Anybody respect that song last night? I will dance, I will dance. What was David wearing when he danced? Yes! All right. Answer me when I call, O Elohim of my righteousness. You gave relief to me when I was in distress. Show favor to me and hear my prayer. Till when, O you, O sons of men, would you turn my esteem to shame? Would you love emptiness and seek falsehood? Selah. But know that Yahweh has separated a kind one for himself. Yahweh hears when I call to him. Tremble and do not sin. Speak within your heart on your bed and be still. Offer slaughterings of righteousness and trust in Yahuwah. For many are saying, who would show us good? Yahuwah, lift up the light of your face upon us. For you have put more gladness in my heart than in the season that their grain and wine increased. I lie down in peace altogether and sleep. For you alone, O Yahuwah, make me dwell in safety. He is the only one that can ever make you to lie down in safety. None of them 5'11" tactical pants will give you that peace. Not even all of them. I'm telling you, I slept every night for my entire life that I could legally own forever with a gun under my pillow. Every night. You know what that is not? Peace. You know what that is? Fear. I assure you of this. That is the fear of death. It's the fear of man. And I'm telling you, men, vanity has a hold on us just as much as it has a hold on women. Because we fear these things that are coming, these things that could have happened to us, these things that we know someday have happened to other people. But I am telling you that Yaakov, when he fled from the man who was pursuing him, super trained murderer, by the way. His brother Esau was a super good hunter. Like, that's like the thing he did. All the time was kill stuff. That's it. It's like, they're like, do you want to go learn the ways of Yahuwah? He's like, I want to go kill stuff instead. I totally understand that feeling. He wanted to kill stuff, and Esau wanted to kill Yaakov, a man who was well studied instead. And it said, go to Genesis chapter 28. Go, 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 go. Who's there? You should be running. Anybody running? Go. Raise your hand when you get there. Raise it, raise it, raise it. Oh, she beat me too. All right. Yaakov is running, literally, for his life. Run for your life! That's like what his mom said to him. She's like, run for your life! To Laban. He's like, Laban. He's like, he's got daughters. She's like, all right! I'll totally run there! Come on, y'all. Some of you young men, some of you young women need to learn how to wait by the well. I'm telling you. I always tell young ladies when I meet them, I'm like, you know where your husband's gonna meet you? At the well. And they're like, why do you keep saying that? I'm like, it's biblical. Just keep being at the well. They're like, I don't even have a well, it's a spigot. They're like, it's a pipe, 4 inches, sitting there. I'm like, just wait. Become a shepherdess. He'll find you. I've got plenty of biblical references to throw at them, and they always make them laugh, and they're always uncomfortable at the same time. And their parents are like, I think that's good advice. I think that's great advice, honey. If we keep her in the fields with sheep, all we gotta worry about are wolves and lions. They're laying down to sleep in peace. You're welcome. Talk that way. And that night, Yaakov ran. Right? Okay, let's see. And he came upon a place and stopped over for the night, for the sun was down. And he took one of the stones of that place and put it at his head, and he lay down in that place to sleep. And he dreamed and saw a ladder standing on the earth, and its top reached to the Shemaim, and saw messengers of Elohim going up and going down on it. And see, Yahuwah stood above it and said, I am Yahuwah, Elohim of Abraham, your father, and the Elohim of Yitzhak. The land on which you are lying, I give it to you, and your seed. And your seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and you shall break forth to the west, to the east, to the north, and to the south, and all the clans of the earth shall baruch in you and in your seed. And see, I am with you, and shall guard you wherever you go, and shall bring you back to this land, for I am not going to leave you until I have done what I have spoken to you. Verse 20. And Yaakov made a vow, saying, seeing Elohim is with me, and has kept me in this way that I am going, and has given me bread to eat and a garment to put on. When I have returned to my father's house in peace, Yahuwah shall be my Elohim. Then this stone, which I have placed as a standing column, shall be Elohim's house. And of all that you give me, I shall certainly give you a tenth. Yaakov, the man on the run, made a promise, a vow to Yahuwah, and said, if you will satisfy me with bread and garments, you're mine forever, and I am yours forever. That's pretty incredible wages, right? How many of you guys work for bread? Just actual grain. I'm not talking about like stuff you buy at the store. How many of you actually work for grain? See, it's not normal. How many of you work for garments? We live in a totally disconnected society from some of these scriptures. And my wife and I have this deep desire to just try to live it out with absolute intensity and furious, relentless craziness. I want to know what it feels like to just work for the garments that go on my flesh. And you know what? I went back to that farm for a second dip. I went back for a second season, and I got promoted because I became a master tomato vine dresser. Yes! Yes! I love the tomatoes so much, and I was like, these biblical lessons about vines I finally understand. I know they weren't grapes. I know. But to me, every one of them was like a grapevine. And I treated it just like that. And I put hundreds of thousands of them nonstop.
It's a dead head. We were able to recover. It's a new sucker. You can see he's set back by about a week of growth compared to his neighbors. They just harvested all the lettuce under here. And these are all tomatoes, and then these are cucumbers. This is all what's growing in here now. Booyah. They just harvested, I think, 400 head of lettuce.
I'm back wearing linen. And I was like, yes! And I worked ferociously for months. And you know what? I ate papayas until my skin turned the neon colors of glory. And I was dripping in the spring water every day, just diving in and immersing myself.
Good job.
There you go. Now go ahead. I'll be right here. There you go. Yep.
Great job.
That's exactly what I'm talking about, girl. Oh.
And wearing my wet linen all day long in hot, stinking, sweaty swamp of Florida. And I was so satisfied. And after almost 6 months, I went to leave there, and the farm owner came to me and was like, here's your salt. And I was like, really? He's like, yes, 10 pounds of it. I was like, all right, I definitely need salt. Okay. That's my wages. I got paid in salt for 6 months later. Okay. Thank you. It's great. I was really conflicted, y'all. It was really bittersweet and super salty all at the same time. It was really great, and I was really devastated and really excited. And you know what? I drove away from there with this salt right here. And you know what's so amazing about this? Is that man had converted the sweat of my labor into these salt crystals that you eat today. No, I'm just joking. It was great salt. I know some of you were terrified. You're like, I totally ate that salt today. I'm not in bed. It's okay. This salt was my wages. And you know what? I suddenly began to understand these verses when he's talking about your salt. Because he says, you cannot ever even bring an offering to me unless it's sprinkled with salt. Come on! Salt. Salt is so intimate to him and to his people that he says, you are my salt. And you're like, okay. There's lots of it. And you're like, why does he say we're the salt of the earth? We're like, well, if the salt loses its saltiness, it's going to get trampled under men. That's all we know about salt. We have no idea why salt is everything. Because if I didn't eat salt, I was literally going to die from the quantity of water I was drinking every day. Guaranteed, every one of you are going to die if you stop eating salt. I know there's other people that say the other side of that equation on those white or priests that they call experts. You need real salt every day. Lots of it. Put it in your distilled water. Spin it around like crazy. It'll change your life. This salt changed my perspective on every time I read in the scriptures what was salt. Because I had labored for salt. I had labored for these garments. I had labored for this grain.
I got a good gift. I've been in the tomato house all day, delirious. But, the farmer gave me some goods, blessings for the day, and he said, good job. I'm like very, very happy. I feel like I've done good here. Hard work here, well-earned reward.
And when he finally gave it to me, I had some chutzpah. I had some roots in the ground that were deep, where I had labored so ferociously, broken and bent over and in agony for months and now years to learn about grain, to learn about garments, and to learn about what this word really was talking about. And I am trying to call you to this wonderful wilderness where Yaakov had already learned that lesson, where Abram had already learned that lesson, where Yitzhak had already learned that lesson, and our fathers before us, even just a few generations ago, knew that lesson well. That it was a great and wonderful thing to lay down and sleep after a hard day's work, knowing that your work had produced bread. That your labor had put meat on the table. And when we went down to that pasture, and when we went down into that field, and those...
Every night now, we take them from the sheepfold. As the sun sets,
We take them up from the sheepfold. We have a livestock trailer they can be locked away in for the night because there's definitely wolves here. Legitimately, they release gray wolves. So we take them up there. They can spend the night.
And those men came down there, and some women came down there, and they saw those lambs in there. There was one woman who had brought her offering. Where are you? The one who brought the kid of the goats. Are you in here? Will you stand up, please? Praise God for that woman. Do you know what she had down there that nobody else here did? Her livelihood, her sweat equity, her deep roots. She had labored to protect and guard one of those kid of the goats that was born on Pesach last year. She had labored, protected it, fed it, nourished it, inspected it, watched it, kept a good eye on it for a year. You know why? To murder it, to kill it. Oh, this is confusing. That's what I'm talking about. El Shaddai, y'all. He's got another thing in store for all of us. And you know what? She had another thing in store for that goat the day she saw it. When it was born on Pesach, you suddenly feel this whole other reason coming, didn't you? You knew. You knew. And you know what? Our Father knew that we were going to lose it, that we were going to forget Him, that we were going to inherit vanities and lies. And you know what? He knew you would want help. He knew you would want the truth. He knew that you would want redemption. And you know what? He had a plan in mind. Before the foundations of the world, He laid up in store and guarded and protected and concealed a perfect, sinless one, unblemished, unstained, without leaven, without adultery. Because you know what? The house of Israel had the leaven of adultery. And you and me have been saturated and raised and indoctrinated to be adulterers, to be idolaters. Ezekiel talks about that we have in our hearts erected idols. And he says, in your heart. We're like, I don't bow down and worship Baal. I've never even once stood in front of the altar and burned my child in front of everybody to witness. And you know what? He knows. But inside you is a temple, a tabernacle, where you can erect your idols. What is most important to you? What is most valuable to you? What is most precious to you? What do you sacrifice your time, your energy, your emotions, your finances towards? Is your idol. It's what will speak to you. Ezekiel 44 or 14. Go. Go, 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 go. Page 357. I don't know if I have that. Do you have a parallel? I don't know. What? Are we sharing swords? No. Okay. Sorry. I was really excited there. This dude could call it out for me. Call that calling air strikes. Contact this. Page of pressure. Ezekiel 14. Is that right? Yes. Ready? This is again another book that's written to the house of Israel. And some of the elders of Israel came to me and sat before me, and the word of Yahweh came to me saying, Son of man, these men have put up their idols in their hearts, and have put stumbling block, and have put the stumbling of their wickedness before their face. Should I let them inquire of me at all? Therefore speak to them, and you shall say to them, Thus says the Adon Yahweh, every one of the house of Israel who puts up idols in his heart, and puts the stumbling block of his heart, of his wickedness before his face, and shall come to the Nabi, I, Yahuwah, shall answer him who comes, according to his many idols. Therefore, say to the house of Israel, Thus says the Adon Yahweh, repent and turn back from your idols, and turn back your faces from all your abominations. For anyone of the house of Israel, or of the strangers who sojourn in Israel, who separates himself from me and puts up his idols in his heart and puts the stumbling block of his wickedness before his face, shall come to a Nabi to inquire of him concerning me. I, Yahweh, shall answer him myself. And I shall turn my face against that man and make him a sign and a proverb. And I shall cut him off from the midst of my people and you shall know that I am Yahuwah. If you erect these idols in your heart, he says, I'm going to answer you according to that. The idol I was erecting in my heart was firearms. Not a joke. I had a rifle that was called a Tavor. It was an Israeli battle rifle. It was the weapon of war. And it was beautiful. And a bullpup design so that the barrel could be extra long, an 18-inch barrel, to get the full burn time out of the 5.56 cartridge it was designed to do. And yet it would be compact and versatile. And I could move it in and out of vehicles and in doorways and houses. And it had a sweet ACOG sight on it that the Marines always wanted to have, but never always do. And it was glorious, and I loved it. And you know what? I put it right under my bed. You betcha, just in case. My bed weighs like 700 pounds, and I never could move it. It was never coming out of there. But you know what? Just in case everything went bad, then I'd pull it out, and it would save my life. And my family's. And I'll probably shoot a deer then with it, or all the dudes, because I need to murder all the men. That way my family could eat. That was my logic, but I wouldn't say that to you. But that's what my idol was telling me. This thing could take care of me. This thing would survive, would provide for me. I would survive because of it. It was like the most precious thing that I guarded, literally, in my life, was that. And you know what? When I was that goat shepherd, Yahuwah kicked me straight in the goat face with those dang horns of those goats I was working with and milking every day, peeing on their faces, rubbing all over me. And you know what? He's like, you have idols, son. I was like, dang it, I do. I'm a stiff-necked goat and I hate them. I bet you do too. And I pointed at me with the book of Hosea, and he showed me Tavor. And I was like, no way. No way. He was like, give it up. And I was like, okay. No. A month later, give it up. No. Y'all been laughing because you're like, I'm already thinking of the idol that's in my heart right now, and I don't want to give it up. It's that. That's what he wants. That's the cost to follow him. And you know what I did? I sold it. And you know what happened? He gave me grain. He gave me milk. And he gave me garments in its place. And he gave my wife and I the Linen Railroad. That was the trade for my idol. He took my idol and he gave me the ability to clothe the naked, to feed the hungry, and to care for the sojourner and the orphan and the widow. He gave me the means to worship him that I needed all my life. If I'd known for that many years, if I just get rid of this thing that I thought was giving me peace of mind to sleep, I would have done it way sooner. But I wouldn't have. Because I wasn't desperate. I wasn't pushed to my limits. I wasn't at the extremity of all of my edges. Because I was living in someone's driveway, spitting distance from their one-bedroom house with 12 goats. So many goats on 1 acre. Dadgum the goats. Chickens coming out of my ears.
Do it again. Big Chuck. Whoa, you almost hit Mom with the tomato. Briley wants one.
Feed it Briley. Oh, you're gonna have to get closer now.
Briley, come here. Hi, Sage. What you doing, you hungry girl?
Hickory, simmer down, honey.
What is she doing?
She's so hungry. She's all like,
Well, she's feeling left. She's feeling left out.
Oh,
And 1 acre.
Do goats really like poison ivy?
They do. Look at them. They love it.
We were so crowded. There was another homeless man living in a school bus directly in front of my RV. There was another person living in a travel trailer down below there. This was the most hospitable humans I'd ever met in my life. They were entertaining messengers and angels among us all the time with nothing. And you know what? When my wife and I were living in a parking lot, a Dick's parking lot, I upgraded. We were living in a Dick's parking lot for a week and a half in Asheville, North Carolina, and we were like, I had kidney stones at the same time. Peeing blood, crying, agony, miserable. Help us! I want to live somewhere where there's 50 acres, please. Help us! I hope they have lots of good hookups. Help us! I really want milk. I really want milk. This was all my prayers, I'm not even joking. I was like, I want to go somewhere where there's milk, because I'm tired of being a vegetable farmer. I want milk and meat so bad. I was really thin. My wife looks at pictures and was like, it's kind of scary, honey. You just ate papaya all the time. And it was great, but then I really wanted meat. And you know what? We went out to a dairy farm, a tiny little homestead that had a dairy cow. And we were like, this could work. And they showed us our spot, and it was right next to where the cow poops forever. And I was like, this will be horrible. This will be awful. And they had a Jersey cow that was producing 6 gallons of raw milk every day. And I was like, I could drink that. I could drink that honey. We could live off of the milk and honey. If we find somewhere there's honey, I could live off of milk and honey alone. And what will that be like? And she was like, there's nothing but poop here. And the children were playing with Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And I was like, oh gosh, we gotta get out of here. So we left and went back to the Dick's parking lot. I peed more blood and cried. It was crazy. And you know what? There was one homestead, one that had Jesus in the name. One. Like 20,000 farms on this website called Wolf that we use to locate different places where we could live. One of them. We'd already been to the other one down in Florida. This was the only other one that even had Jesus in their names and descriptions. And they were called the Resilient Acre. And I was like, I do not want to live there. And I wrote her out of sheer desperation after writing 45 other people. She brought us to their farm, and I prayed, if we're supposed to be there, have them give me a glass of milk. I'm not gonna ask for it, but just have them give me milk. And I'm not joking. We go down there, they have a special needs son, 3 other children, this homeless person who was a witch, by the way, practicing occultists, and they knew that. And they still were taking care of the sojourner. They were so alive with truth, with love, with compassion. And you know what? Their husband invited me into his kitchen, and he poured me a huge glass of raw goat's milk. And I was like, shaking excited. Yes! I felt euphoric, man! I was like, yes! I'll work for you! You and I, sir, are in a covenant now. Oh, buddy, I had to fit my RV inside a tiny little parking spot in front of his yard. And I was like, Brad, I can totally do that. And I tried to get there, and there were giant tree branches. And it was like, nope, you're gonna live inside and block my entire driveway for the next 6 months. Oh, man. They could hear, we found out later, everything in my house at all times. And we had this illusion that nobody could hear us when we closed the door in our RV. Many of you outside our RV are already like, we could hear the Reynolds. They're like loud humans. We're pretty intense, right? Mind the intensity, it's for good reason. But those people showed us hospitality, and that woman began to reveal to us the grain, the bread of life. She fed me 1 slice of spelt sourdough, and a glass of milk. And I worked relentlessly for 6.5 hours in blazing, intense, humid heat, and was like, I am so ready for this. What just happened? Because I normally eat like 250 times what a normal human eats, and I'm still hungry. And I was like, what? I could eat 1 piece of bread? What? Are you kidding me? I've eaten loads of bread. Not even joking. I'm drinking gallons of milk in a day. I had a farmer one time tell me that if I drank a gallon of milk in a day, I'd die. I laughed in her face. I was challenge accepted. Game over, son. I'm a really intense human. And you know what? That was so exciting to be like, 1 slice of this bread could feed me and sustain me. I need this bread. And you know what? That was where he revealed to me Hosea. That was he revealed to us the linen and this wool and this incredible garments of praise. And I was like, this is the greatest treasure I've ever found. And you know what? When I saw that woman bringing her goat out from its safe haven, from its protected space, I saw the bravest woman on this property. The most courageous woman who had come here, because she led her animal to its slaughter. She led her precious kid of the goats to its slaughter. And you know what? She was weeping. Weeping. Because she loved that animal. She cherished it. And it was screaming. Kids of the goats are not silent. The lambs were silent. Everyone who was there witnessed that. When I took the first lamb out of its sheepfold and I held it in my arms, it called to the others. And they responded. And it called to the others. And they responded. And this was our Messiah, who came here for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. He called to us. He called to us, and we are answering him. He cried out to us with a loud voice. He gave up his life as a ransom for many. He gave it. The word is Nathan, the giver. That's what he did for you. He gave everything he had. Everything he had for us to be able to hear his voice. I want to hear the voice of the one crying out. I want to hear it. And she got to hear the voice of her kid crying out. And she showed no mercy. She showed no compassion. She killed it. For you to be able to eat and partake in this Pesach. She gave that animal death so you could have life. That is bravery. That is brutality. That is unbelievable to a civilized culture. That's terrifying to them. And you know what it is? Authentic, peculiar living. Thank you for setting an example. Thank you for giving us and our children a testimony. I encourage each and every one of you to live authentically for these treasures that you have found. Because when you uncover them and you have that sweat equity, he will give it to you in such exceeding abundance that you can't even number it. You can't even count it. It says when Joseph was storing up the grain in its plenteous 7 years, that they literally could not count it. Like, we have a lot of systems of counting and measuring stuff. He had better ones, guaranteed. He had an incredible intellect that was given to him by the Ruach so that he could save the world. He was there to save the world. And you know what? He was one that was beaten. He was the one that was stripped of his garments. He was one that was scourged and tested. And he was found blameless. He was the most righteous king that Israel ever had. More righteous than David. Greater than Solomon. And you know what? He was betrayed. He was mocked. He was belittled. He was reviled. He was falsely accused. And you know what? Yahuwah vindicated him. And for those of you that are suffering those scourges today and are going to suffer those scourges because of what you did here and because of how you choose to live your life, I encourage you to appeal to the one who can vindicate you. Because at the end of my life, the old man, the one I buried in the water and who is crucified with my Messiah and impaled and cast away, I let him go. And a new man came up to live forever. But you know what? This is the costliness of our kingdom inheritance. This is the price for true discipleship. If we want to be one of his Talmudim, if we want to be one of his taught ones, we must be willing to seek these treasures out of this word. One more outfit change. Some of y'all have been looking at this table for a while. I'm seeing it in your face. It says, dude, bring all these rocks up before. You know why? Because I found treasure, y'all! 85,000 miles I have traveled to show you my treasure chest. There it is. You know, you're all like, okay, dude's got a treasure chest up here. No, I got two! I got two! Mine the turtle shell. Check that thing out. I've been praying for 30 years for this thing. Y'all be like, it's a turtle shell. You go find one. I'm not joking. Challenged every one of you. Go find a turtle. Wrestle him for his shell. I did. I started with an alligator snapping turtle in the middle of the swamps of Florida. And I still got it on my fingers, son. You betcha. But you know what? I had to ask my wife if I could kill these turtles. And all the children are like, my daughter Naomi, she's amazing. And she never wants me to murder turtles. And I totally respect that. But she doesn't know how much I want to. Every time in every video you ever see in the Nature Nate series where I'm holding a turtle, I want to kill it. I want to keep it shell and wear it on my head. No, she still cries out. No!
Yes! It's a perfect whole turtle! Yes!
Why are they eating him?
Honey, he died. He already died. It's a whole skeleton.
Rip him open.
All right, I'm trying to clean this turtle carcass off. Without getting nasty, but I've got him boiling now to just kind of stop some of the putrefaction processes that were taking place in him because he's so rancid. I've got him boiling up. Oh man, I hope that's not what I think it is. His shell looks like it's bubbling. Oh boy.
And every time I look at Chelsea and I'm like, is this the one? She's like, no, go pray. So I do, diligently. And on my way up here, I was in North Texas. And you know what I found there? Treasure! Obviously. It was the greatest treasure chest I'd ever found, and it is a creek called Post Oak Creek. Go there. Change the world.
So many fossils. I ran out of hands to carry them. Yes. Look at that. Bags of bones. Pockets full of incredible septarian nodules. Yes! Oh, so cold. So worth it. Go where the treasure is.
These. Where's it? Septarian nodules, son. Mm-hmm. Looks like a dinosaur egg. Looks like.
Look at this monstrosity. You see this? This is basically a shale ball full of calcite crystals. Now, when I was at a recent rock shop getting the other septarian nodules dropped off to get cut, I found out it takes this gentleman a very long time to cut these things just because of he's got a backlog. So I don't have time to live here in this splendid RV park. Oh. RV parks like
The
this.
highway's right there. Yes, it is.
They're like the apartment complex of the mobile lifestyle. There's no room for you to hang out outside. They intentionally design it so that you don't. They're like, don't you go outside. You sit in your RV and you watch that Black Mirror all day, all night. Anyways, it's not our favorite, but we'll do this for destination stations like treasure hunting, giant fossils and stuff like this. So now that I found this one, while I was in that rock shop, he had these crazy specimens of calcite from these septarian nodules. But he said, I was like, how do you even find those? They were like crystal stacks inside of crystals, just beautiful. And he said, oh, you just smash them with sledgehammers. I was like, he's like, don't cut them. He's like, because if you cut it, you won't be able to get that view. So he said he smashes it super hard, 5, 6, 7 times. If it doesn't break open, he's like, you know it's solid. So just get it cut. Well, I'm gonna hit this thing as hard as I can a few times. And if it's got a hollow cavity in there, like a geode, then treasures will be revealed. And maybe, just maybe, that's what's inside this one. I don't know, but it's ridiculously heavy. I gotta put it down.
Looks like nothing but stupid on the outside. Exactly. Hiding in plain sight. Camouflaged perfectly so that everybody else that drives right past the trash heap that's in that Post Oak
Check this out. Metro by T-Mobile. Aquafina. Fluoridated bottles of death. Fossil bones! Yes! Oh, I gotta get my pick. It's like you just gotta pick your way through the debris. It's perfect. It's perfect. Nobody will suspect this. Look it. Greenbriers. Now we hunt for fossils, Ceterian nodules, and broken.
Oak Creek won't know it's there, but I do. See, I got a stupendously crazy mind, and you know what it gave me? These books when I was little that had little tiny pictures in them, and one of them was a septarian nodule, son. Tuck that away forever. Challenge accepted. Go find one.
Maybe, but let's try here first.
Ooh. Ooh.
Oh, I did see some slight cracking.
Oh, watch out. Stay back. Oh.
Oh, it really seems pretty solid.
Is it?
All that's flaking off is some of this outer crust of shale.
Oh.
Oh no.
Let's see. Keep cracking.
All right,
All right, watch out. Skip back, girls.
I'm committed now.
Skip back. Oh.
Oh man, Bessie's taking a beating. Hang in there, hang in there. Bessie's fine. She's durable. Oh, these are beautiful crystals. Wait.
Oh, get back. Oh. Whoa.
That's nice.
Hold on, Whitney.
There's gonna be more. Hold on,
There is
Nate.
a cavity in
There
there.
is somewhat of a void.
Oh my gosh.
All right, back up. I know, I'm working on it. Take this, Jimmy.
Oh.
Oh.
I'm
Take
gonna hold
that.
it. Look at this. Look at. We've done this.
What?
Right.
Look at
Okay,
that.
skip back.
It would have been a pretty epic
Crystal.
cut, but we're gonna keep going.
Look at that.
Oh, wow, yeah. Super pretty.
Wow.
Watch out, stay way back.
Oh! Look at it!
Whoa! Crack it!
It might be hollow in the middle, kind of.
Oh, that's pretty rad. All right, let's keep going. All right, back up.
I did look all the time, stupendously, relentlessly, ferociously. Never even kind of came across one till one time. I was like, huh. Chelsea walks over to me. She's now my treasure huntress. She's basically been nursing babies on the beach while I just do this maniac treasure hunting forever. And now, finally, my child is weaned. Yes! True story. Not birthdays in the Bible you should be celebrating. Weanings are feast days. Yes. Abram was all about it, y'all. Inside, he's like, yeah, babies weaned. Let's call all the neighbors and tell them. All the neighbors be coming over because he gets that weaned son. It's a good day to get Sarah back. He's like, finally, my wife, I missed you. My wife's like, let's go treasure hunting, baby. I'm like, yeah! This is what she started finding, and I was like, sweet Moses of the Nile, you have drawn it from the water, baby. We got septarian nodules! And I found dozens of them. She'll find some good stuff, and then it zeroes me in like a bloodhound, and I'm on it. And I'm like, we can bring them all. We're going to Pesach, honey. We can bring them all, and all the children can run around and crack open these nodules and find glory inside. And my RV was so overloaded, it was totally almost the most dangerous thing I've ever driven. It was so bad. I was like 6,000 pounds over max weight limit. Not even kidding. It was so dangerous. It was bad. I'm stuck forever out there, y'all. Do you think I'm leaving Missouri? It's never happening.
Great. Look at them big tire marks there. Oh yeah, we were good and stuck. Yep.
All these guys in here are like, we got trucks. I'm like, I have 50,000 treasures. Not even exaggerating. Come count my grain. You can't. every time we find treasure, I just want to stay and get it all. Because I suddenly have this exhilarating realization that all my life I've been looking for treasure and I finally found it and I just want to get all of it.
We're not the first treasure hunters. See? Treasure hunters are generous people. Look at this. They did the work for you. Oh my gosh.
There you go.
They're coming. It's like Nature Beach on the sideline here. Oh my. Not yet, Tim. We've got to get to that gravel bar. Nene, we'll load those up. Wow.
These are beautiful.
Look at that guy. That's amazing. What a gift.
You know what I gotta do? Because I live in an RV? I gotta give it away. I have to. Because otherwise, my entire house will completely explode. Totally real. All my tires, boom, like a grenade. Anybody ever seen a grenade go off? Raise your hand if you've seen a grenade go off. Yes! Trained murderers in the room. That's what my tires were gonna do. These treasures, they're sapphires, rubies, gemstones, topaz, jasper, carnelian, petrified wood. Beautiful crystals from Arkansas. There's fossils, dinosaur bones, shark teeth. This is just the glory of what I've discovered over these years. And you know what? I can only find more treasure if I give it away. And sooner or later, I have to leave it behind. So, I've developed treasure map. Gosh, some of you guys just don't even understand. I'm treasure map. I'm treasure map of all the wonderful things that I found that I had to leave behind. Because I found so much treasure that I had to leave so much of it behind, but I buried it. Anybody ever hear about Joseph burying his treasure? Four places he hid the treasure. Y'all be good prayers. I heard your prayers. They're salty. Start praying for that treasure. Start praying for Yah to lead us to that treasure chest because it's going to be the ultimate treasure chest I've ever missed. And you know what? Those treasures I have left there hidden just in plain sight are going to lead to some child finding the answer to their prayer. I was looking for that answer to prayer. And you know what? When I find it, man, I fill my pockets.
My goodness. Look at this lightning walk.
Oh my goodness.
Wait
honey.
till I show you.
Oh my gosh. Let me see. Turn it over. Oh, he's gonna clean up beautifully. Oh my goodness, honey. Oh, this was your day. We knew it. This is the place, man. Oh my god.
It's wrong pants. Hang in there. It says butcher knives all over it. Ugh. My daughter knows I don't clean my knives very well. I wipe it off on the sheet and I call it good. Alright? I'm not a sterile human. When I find that treasure, I fill these pockets completely. Dozens and dozens and dozens of times. All the way, front and back, every portion that I can carry. And then I strap bags to myself. And I fill those up too. And then I come barely to the surface before I drown. And I stuff them into these giant sifting trays. And I sort through them meticulously. And on hands and knees, I scour around with these tiny little knee pads that I bought at Dollar Tree. Yes! They're completely blown out and destroyed and absolutely worthless. But I scour the earth for this treasure. And then this one time, I was in Tennessee. And I went under a waterfall. And I found the greatest treasure of all. Oh, yeah. Psalm 119. Go! Run, 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 run! I'm still looking this way. Any of you got a Bible over there? Y'all been real quiet. She's digging. She's digging. Psalm 119. 162. I'll turn the page. I win. I set you up for failure. Welcome to the military. Sheen, which is all about teeth, like shark teeth. Rulers have persecuted me without cause, but at your word, my heart stood in awe. I rejoice at your word as one who finds great treasure. I have hated falsehood and loathed it. Your Torah I have loved. I have praised you 7 times a day because of your righteous right rulings. Great peace have those loving your Torah, and for them there is no stumbling block. Yahuwah, I have waited for your deliverance, and I have done your commands. My being has guarded your witnesses, and I love them exceedingly. I have guarded your orders, and your witnesses within your gates, O Jerusalem. Oh, sorry, sticky pages. This is a waterproof Bible, by the way, if you didn't know that. I actually found it under a waterfall in Tennessee. Watch the videos. It's scary. Your command is exceedingly broad. Oh, how I love your Torah. It is my study all day long. Your commands make me wiser than my enemies, for it is ever before me. I have more understanding than all my teachers. I got them now. For your witnesses are my studies. I rejoice in your word like one that finds treasure. Now I do, because you know what I found? The greatest treasure of all. The bread that came down from heaven. The Torah in the flesh. Yeshua, Yahushua HaMashiach, my Messiah. The Torah revealed. Behold the hands. Behold the nail. This is the name of my Father. This is his Son revealed to us. When she stood there and carried that animal down to its slaughter, she held it forth for us. And you know what she did? She revealed to us the purpose of that animal. When Yahushua was laid up and brought forth before the world, revealed to them, they cried out, the king who had valued him, and said, there is no fault in this man, said, behold the man. They said, behold the nails. Let his blood be on us and on our children forever. And they led him away to be scourged, to be mocked, to be beaten, to be brutalized. None of us mishandled those lambs. None of us plucked out their hair. None of us beat them. But could you imagine how horrible and cruel it would have been if she then ripped that animal to pieces while it was alive? How vile would it for her to have watched us abuse it in front of her, spit in its face, kick it, and punch it, and rip it to pieces. How much anguish that would have caused her. How much agony that would have been. This is how much he loved the whoring, adulterous Israel, the lost sheep of the house of Yasharel. He loved them. He loves you. Even though you've been the adulterers, even though you've been the idolaters, even though we don't even know his name, he had compassion on you. His mercy was extended to you, and he spared us so that we might regard him, we might cherish him, and cling to him. If we turn unto him and hear his voice, he says, you can come into my kingdom. You can be called like my sons and my daughters. Blessed is our Creator for giving us such an offering, for giving us such a sacrifice, whose blood cries out day and night, and it's a greater cry than Abel and all the blood of bulls and all the blood of goats and lambs could ever have cried. There is but one sacrifice needed to abolish and eradicate from us that void, that perpetual destruction that was imminent, guaranteed, if we would come to him. Return, O Yisrael! Come back to me! Come back to me! And you know what? Yaakov, he did. He came back to that mountain and to that stone, the living stone of testimony that was waiting there. For that day, Yahweh brought him back. Go to Bereshit, Genesis. Go. 32, maybe. 32. Raise your hand when you get there. Yes, good. Sharpening that sword. Verse 9, and Yaakov said, O Elohim of my father, Abraham, and Elohim of my father, Yitzhak, Yahuwah who said to me, return to your land and to your relatives, and I do good to you. I do not deserve the least of all the kind acts and all the truth which you have shown your servant. For I passed over this Yarden with my staff, and now I've become two groups. Deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come and smite me and the mother with the children. He came back to that mountain in obedience. He came back because his father called him home. He came back even though he still had the fear of reprisals. I was afraid to come here. I was afraid to put that giant sticker on my bus. My wife watched me shaking and trembling in terror because I had to put a sticker on my RV. I faced down trained murderers, never trembled. I've been scared, but I didn't shake. I was shaking because I had the fear of being known. I had the fear of being seen and evaluated. I had the fear of men still stinking all over me because it was an idol in my heart that had been firmly pressed into me in those classes. Those classes aren't there to teach you information or education. They're to teach you the societal pressures and the fear of men to keep you in line, to keep you in the kingdom of Cain, the doctrines of demons. They are there to get you back in line. This society that we have inherited of vanity and falsehood is there to make sure you stay in the brick that you were made for. And Yahuwah is looking for those living stones. And my wife and a few other people who sheltered us and watched over us and helped us put those stickers on my RV and helped me do something I could not do and prayed for me to be freed from the fear of men, that people would know where I live. Because you may not understand this, but there are human beings who wake up every single day thinking of ways how to murder me and my children and my wife. And they have far more resources than you can even imagine. And yet I live. And those girls live. We are living stones of testimony. These are the treasures in my life. And I am here to give them to you. We offer ourselves to you as witnesses of the one who can save you, the one who can spare you. You need nothing in this world but his words, a staff in your hand, and the authority of his voice. If you know his names, if you know his word, if you know his instructions, and if you walk in them, I assure you of this, no man on this earth, no spirit in the heavens above has the power over you unless he says otherwise. You are his. He says, I have engraved your names on the palm of my hand. You and me who sit here and reason together about the Torah and about his instructions and who think about his name, it says he writes another book. And in there, he says, write down the names of those people who think about my name and talk about it. Talk about his glory. Talk about his character. Talk about his witnesses. Talk about his testaments, his statutes, his ordinances, and the testimonies of truth. He says, write them down. I will remember them forever. And you know what? You who are here are those peculiar people. Praise God, you have been faithful. Thank you for your witnesses. Thank you for your hospitality. Thank you for your generosity. I saw the hearts of servants here. I saw so many people laying down their lives for each other. I saw neighbors caring for each other. In the middle of the night, while many of you were sleeping in moderate misery, there were other people who were sleeping in way more agony, who had to get up in the middle of the night and leave. And you know what? They turned to their neighbors, and their neighbors helped them. I was in my RV sleeping, and I didn't even know someone in my tribe got sick and was throwing up from issues that had been going on for a long time in their life. And their neighbors helped them pack up, sheltered them, fed them, nourished them, gave them real medicines that came from plants, nourished them with encouragement. Thank you. Thank you for caring for your neighbors. Thank you guys for being living witnesses. The tribe of Shimon, when I sat down with them to tell them the testimony, the story of Shimon, I could have told them the bloodlust, crazy story of when they killed Shechemites. We did talk about that because it's awesome. But you know what? Levi and Shimon slaughtered a whole city. Meticulously, with close quarter combat weapons, known as machetes. That's what we call it. Basically, machetes, they slaughtered a whole city. But you know what? If anything I wanted them to remember and regard, it was the servants. Why did Joseph keep Shimon with him? Why was Shimon selected of everybody in his household that was there? Of all the brothers that Joseph had, the king of Mitzrayim, he could have kept any of them back. Why did he pick Shimon? My conjecture, his house was in order. My conjecture, he knew what had taken place, and he was a new man. He got to spend 1 year, more than all of his brothers, in the house of his brother. He was protected and cared for. And meanwhile, his wife and children had no idea. You think about the faithfulness of his family. You think about the steadfastness of his wife. Think about the confidence that their children had, that you know what? Yahuwah would provide for them. Yahuwah would protect them. In the midst of a famine, their husband was gone. She had no idea what was going to take place, and yet he was returned to her as a prince. The next time she saw him, what was he dressed in? Linen! He got his wages, and she got her husband back. And all the riches of the world was put upon the house of Yisrael. And you know what? If you follow Yahuwah, if you take up the staff of his authority, and you follow him with everything you have, I assure you of this, we will get to inherit the earth. The meek shall indeed inherit the earth. Last one, Proverbs 22, go. A name is preferable to great riches. When Adam introduced me tonight, I have never had anybody talk about my character as my introduction. I am so humbled that my character was my introduction. Thank you, Adam, for evaluating my character. Thank you for each and every one of you that has given me the opportunity to speak a word to you. And you know what? It is better for me than all the riches of the world that I left behind, because I left kingdoms behind, wealth and riches and powerful things. And you know what? My name is intact. My character and my integrity is here with me. And I did not compromise for the sake of riches and give them my children. And I'm begging you, do likewise. Lose everything if that's what it takes to protect your family and your children from compromise. Because then you will indeed inherit great riches. Favor is better than silver and gold. The rich and the poor meet together. Yahuwah is the maker of them all. A clever one foresees evil and hides himself, but the simple go on and perish. The reward of humility is the reverence of Yahuwah. Riches and esteem and life. Thorns and snares are in the way of the perverse, and he who guards his life keeps far away from them. So train up a child in the way he should go, and even when he is old, he will not turn away from it. Thank you for raising up the children in the ways of Yahuwah. In their older ages, they will not depart from it. You are impressing upon them the instructions of your Father. And if you have humility and meekness, you can get the greatest inheritance of it all, which is the reverence, the fear of Yahuwah. For with that we can have wisdom and knowledge and understanding. And by keeping these commands, we will have riches, glory, and esteem, and eternal life. Thank you for letting me be here. I encourage each and every one of you, and children in particular, come up here. Feast on the treasures. Take as many as you can possibly carry. Blow out all your pockets with the treasures. Because you know what? They were made for you to be stones of witnesses. When you look upon them, may you never forget, you are Yahweh's precious inheritance. You are his treasure. Go and share the stones of testimony with all you can. Thank you so much.
I don't know about you, but I think that was one of the best discussions, studies, talks I've ever heard. Thank you, brother. You and your wife Chelsea are an inspiration. Thank you for being here. So like you said, come on up here and grab some treasure. When I was talking about how we related on treasure earlier, this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. This stuff is amazing.